Knicks and Bruises, we are back. Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black is time. Yes, the Knicks have made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, defeated the Boston Celtics. A lot of people didn't think we could do it. You know what I mean? There was a lot of talk about Celtics in 4, Celtics in 5, Celtics in 6, Celtics in 7. Even after Jason Tatum went down, a lot of people didn't believe. Some Knicks fans didn't believe. But we did it. And I got a special guest tonight. A Knicks fan you all know, you all are familiar with his controversial takes. And he was one of those guys that didn't believe that the Knicks could defeat the Celtics. And I'm going to give him a chance to speak his piece. Uncle Fio, welcome back to the show.
What up, Tony? What up, Knicks and Bruises family? What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing?
Knicks in 7, Knicks in 8, Knicks in 9, Celtics in 9. Pardon me. A lot of people had a lot of things to say about you, Uncle Fio. You know what I mean? A lot of people called you out. I said I'm gonna go easy on you, but I'm gonna also give you a chance to speak your piece. You know what I mean? I know you got a lot to say. But what was your thoughts, man? You didn't think we could do it.
Well, one, I'm extremely proud, and excuse me, this dog is chewing up tissue. I'm extremely proud of this team. First and foremost, I mean, 25 years is a long time to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I just want to say that although I'm impressed with what they did against the Celtics, I mean, there was a lot of things, a lot of mitigating circumstances that helped us. And I think that is true for any time a team is going to make a run to the NBA Finals or Eastern Conference Finals or Conference Finals or what have you. There's always some things that happen that are out of control. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that is definitely the case in this circumstance right here. I wasn't backing down from my take. Me and Tony have been talking about this for those in the chat that are watching. We've been talking about Knicks versus Celtics for a long time. And I was very consistent throughout the entire season. I believe that the Celtics were going to take out the Knicks. But let's not act like the first 3 games of the series, particularly the first 2 games, when the Knicks were in Boston had a 20-point lead in both games, right? Those are games that you got to close out. You got to close those games out at home, and again, I give the Knicks a ton of credit for what they did, going on the road and knocking off the Celtics and coming back from those 20-point leads. But Boston had 47 wide open 3-point shots in those first 2 games. You know what I'm saying? And those are shots that they normally would hit. They just didn't hit them. You know what I mean? So that's the first thing that I want to get out the way. The Knicks going into game or finishing up game 4, they easily could have been down 3-1. The series could have been easily flipped the other way, right? But again, I give the Knicks credit for being resilient. Tom Thibodeau has coached a resilient team. Since Tom Thibodeau's been here, I've never seen this team just give up. This team has been extremely resilient, so I give them credit for that. Okay? And then the second thing that I want to point out is my take about the Celtics winning that series was specifically based on health. If they were healthy. Now looking back on it, they were not healthy. Porzingis had some unknown illness. And then you had Jaylen Brown, who was playing with a partially torn meniscus in his knee. Right? So those guys were not healthy. So that's where my take came from, and I stand by it. Listen, I'm happy that I was proven wrong and the Knicks actually won. But if people want to come at me saying I'm the reason, I should have been, as a Knicks fan, I should have been more supportive of the team. Tack it on my jacket. I'll take it. Matter of fact, y'all should be thanking me, right? There was a whole thing last season. Talking about if Fulio predicts that the Knicks will lose, they always win. So tack it on my jacket. Y'all should be thanking me, if anything. But all in all, I'm glad the Knicks are in the position that they are. And, that's all I got to say for right now. I'll just keep it at that.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
You got to have some faith. What I will say is when you give your arguments on your thoughts, it's well thought out, right? You give context to why you feel the way you feel. But you was wrong, man. It's
Okay.
like you said, luck, circumstances, health. That has to do with every year, every round, every champion. You know what I mean? Look at the Celtics path last year to the championship.
Yeah.
No asterisk on that, right?
Yeah.
So I mean that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely just wanted to give you a chance to speak your piece. Shout out to Kavan in the chat. I think he mentioned he hopes you're rooting for the Celtics. I mean the Pacers, pardon me. So let's talk about it, man.
Okay, hold on, Tony. I got to say something about that. Just because I make a prediction about what I think is going to happen in a particular game or series or something like that, does not mean I'm rooting for that team who I say is going to win. It's just a prediction. Me being extremely objective. That's what I do. I'm objective. I'm not just going to be delusional just for the sake of it. I have faith in the Knicks.
Shout out to delusional.
I have faith in this Knicks team. I've had faith in them for a long time. Matter of fact, if y'all want to play it that way, half of y'all was criticizing Tibs the whole season, and y'all were coming at me for defending him. So if you want to talk about that, let's talk about that. You know what I'm saying? Criticizing Tibs for this. Oh, he doesn't play these certain players in a rotation, 8-man rotation. We're not going to be able to beat this team if he keeps doing this and that. And that didn't work out either. So this is the pot calling the kettle. You know what I'm saying? Don't come at me. At least I'm consistent. That's the one thing nobody can ever tell me that I'm not. I am very consistent when it comes to my takes on sports in general. I'm not a hypocrite, and I call it just like I see it. So yeah, I was wrong.
Yep.
That's fine. I was wrong, but let's not act like I'm rooting against the Knicks actively. That's not true. That's the furthest thing from the truth. I root for the Knicks. I've been rooting for the Knicks for a very, very long time. Right? So yeah, I just want to point that out.
And shout out to you because you're not afraid to give your opinion, even if it's controversy. Even if it's against the grain. Jason Benjamin, appreciate the super chat. He said that Mitch switches on fives and McBride block were the highlights on Friday. Love that they smelt blood and demolished the Celtics. Before we talk about the Pacers, let's talk about the Celtics. And let's talk about that last game in particular, because not only was that the best game of the playoffs, I think that was the best game of the season.
Absolutely.
And we had contributors all over the place. Jason, you're spot on, because these are like unsung heroes, right? In Mitch's performance throughout the playoffs, in particular against the Celtics, in that series. This is what I've been waiting for. This is what I've been hoping for. And I don't even think he's at his max yet. You know what I mean? I don't think he's 100% conditioned or recovered. You know what I mean? Like, let me not say recovered. Conditioned. You know what I mean? This I don't think this is his 20. I don't think he played 20 games yet. You know what I mean? Like
probably Detroit series won 6. That's 12. I think he played more than 20.
It might be just over.
Right.
It might be just over.
Right.
But yeah, man. Shout out to Mitch. That McBride block. I looked at that block about 5-6 times, just because from behind the backboard, it's hard to tell if it was clean or not. I was trying to get all the angles, but yeah, man, we stepped up all across the board. 20-point scorers in the 4 20-point scorers, and then a triple double in the starting lineup. Like, this was by far the best game of the season. What was your thoughts on the way we closed out the series, especially coming off a bounce back game in the Garden? First, that was one of my biggest concerns. I've been talking about it. In the first round, second round, we haven't closed out at home. We haven't made home court advantage mean anything. You know what I mean? When you date back to last year, going into this year as well, you know what I mean? We beat Detroit on the road. So it's like, that was concerning for me. More so for the long-term future, like next year. But I mean, I didn't, I wanted us to be here, but I didn't know we was going to be here. So now home court really, really means something against Indiana, potentially against the finals. We might have it, depending on what the matchup is. So like this is huge for us.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
regarding home court, the Knicks won 51 games, 50 or 51 games, or 51 or 52 games, something like that, right? And they had a better away record than they did home record. So I think equally as
important.
Equally as the negative importance of us not being able to finish out at home, I think equally is positively important that we be able to be a good road team and be resilient, because you still have to win those as well. So I don't want that to get lost in it. I think for the nostalgia of the Knicks and us being able to win at home and make a home court mean something, I understand where you're coming from with that, but I also want to include the fact that we are a very successful road team, right? This series wasn't just based on what we did at home. We went to Boston and we won 2 games on the road, right?
Yeah,
and I think that really set the tone for the series, specifically.
100%. And I'm aware, because prior to us losing the game in Boston, I wanted us, I wanted us to win in 5 just to keep that undefeated road record in this playoffs. So I knew the importance of it. You know what I mean? My preference was to win on the road, just to keep that that in our back pocket, knowing that we haven't been that strong at home in the playoffs. So
it's not just the playoffs, Tony. I'm talking about the regular season as well. That's why I started.
I agree. It took us a minute to kind of get into the positive in the home record. You know what I mean? We've been dominant on the road all year. You know what I mean? And then we slowly started taking care of home court in the regular season. So it was still a winning record, obviously, but it just wasn't as good as our road record. I'm fully aware. You know what I mean? But 4-1, only losing 1 road game is just as as important as now is having that closeout experience and the way we did it, the fashion in which we did it. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing better than that in a closeout game at home. So that I think that gave us some confidence to kind of leave the past in the past and take
against the defending champions and the whole thing about us being 0-4 against them during the regular season. I think all that stuff matters. That adds context to the way we closed them out on Friday. Now going to Mitch, I know you want to talk about Mitch and the importance of Mitch and what he did. There's no question about it. Mitch was since he came back, this team has been a much better team, right? I didn't necessarily have any reservations about that, but I just didn't want to see Mitch in the starting lineup, right? A lot of people were clamoring for Mitch, put Mitch in the starting lineup, have him there, have Towns at the 4, and I just thought that was not the best idea, and I think Tibs proved that. Tom Thibodeau's coaching, managing Mitchell Robinson, in this series in particular, is some of the best coaching work I've ever seen Tom Thibodeau do. Okay, the game plan from Boston, when Mitch was out the game, let's say Josh Hart was on the floor, and this is including Josh Hart as well, was to sag off of Josh Hart, clog the paint, right? And then that gave the Knicks problems, and a lot of times throughout the series, the Knicks weren't able to score as much, right? And then and we've seen that. I think what was that, game 3? We've seen that the Knicks wouldn't be able to do anything, right? And game 3
and game 4 we adjusted.
Game 4 we adjusted. Right, and that's what Tibs made that adjustment. Right now, when it came to Mitchell Robinson, the game plan against Mitch is we're going to foul him. Anytime the Knicks are on offense, we're going to foul him, send him to the free throw line, have to Mitch whatever. Smart, very smart from Boston's coach to do that. But with the way Thibodeau managed those minutes right there, taking Mitch off the floor, getting Deuce McBride in as a sub for either Josh Hart or for Mitchell Robinson, I think was phenomenal. And I don't think people are talking about that enough, particularly Knicks fans. We're not talking about the importance of Tom Thibodeau and what he did this series. He won the coaching battle hands down.
Not just that, but leaving him in to get into the bonus. You know what I mean? Which was so knowing when to take him out and not to. You know what I mean? Living with him or making the Celtics decide, are we going to foul you early and get ourselves in the bonus early, or are we going to minimize the times that we can use utilize the strategy, and that's what Thibodeau did. He minimized the time that they could utilize the strategy, and then adjusted when they did, when needed. And he rode with Mitch at times too. And shout out to Mitch. You know what I mean? Like he had the couple of air balls, but then came back and was knocking them down. You know what I mean? And honestly, I felt like Tom Thibodeau riding with him in the times that he did ride with him, and let him take those free throws. It made me believe that Mitch is actually out there working on his free throws, and Tibs knows that. You know what I mean? Like, so Tibs has seen it on, you know what I mean, maybe not in game, but seen it as the routine in practice, and said, all right, I know he's better than what he's been shooting. And then when it became a detriment, all right, let's get him out of here. Let's go with Deuce. So yeah, that was huge.
And that's an underrated part of coaching as well. Like, it's not just about the X's and O's. It's knowing your personnel, knowing the players you have in your locker room that you have in your program, and being able to use them accordingly. Knowing what makes them tick, stuff like that. And I think Tom Thibodeau does not get enough credit for that. Not to mention, I always go back to this. People talk about Tom Thibodeau not being able to make adjustments in game. Furthest thing from the truth. 2 years ago, when we played Cleveland in that first round, and Bickerstaff, who was coaching Cleveland back then, what he did was he put Okoro. He tried to put Okoro on Brunson. Okoro was getting cooked, right? So then he took Okoro out and put in Karis LeVert, and that was able to neutralize the Knicks' offense to an extent, right? So we lost. I think we lost either game 2 or game 3. What did Tibs do at that point? Adjusted. The following game, now you have Quickly on the floor a little bit more, right? And no, I think he did it in that game. Put Quickly on the floor in that second half, along with Brunson. Even though Quickly didn't shoot that great, his ability to handle the basketball and be able to run the offense definitely gave Cleveland problems, and it was over after that, right? So Tibs has shown that he's able to make adjustments, not just from game to game in the playoffs, but in the game as well. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that. People talk all this crap about Tibs. He's too old school. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. But they failed to mention those parts. So I just want to highlight that. And I've been talking about that for a long time. Hopefully some of the Knicks fans see that now in Tom Thibodeau, because he has been coaching his butt off. And then the Detroit series as well. Detroit tried to put bigs on Josh Hart, right? They tried to put bigs on Josh Hart, and it wound up not working out, right? It might have worked for a game or two, but once Tibbs was able to adjust,
Josh,
right? Once they were able to adjust, it worked out. So I just want to point that out. There's multiple factors. It's not just one unsung hero. This is a team thing and what the team is doing. And last thing I'll say, Tony, about Boston before we go into the Indiana. I know you want to go to Indiana. The Knicks defense is not really what did it for me this playoff series. They closed out, with the defense. I was concerned about the offense because defensively, I felt like Tom Thibodeau's strategy in those first 3 games was to give up the wide open 3. Luckily, Boston missed them, and we were able to capitalize. But I was concerned about what we're going to do on offense when you had players like Drew Holiday or whoever on the wing swarming Jalen Brunson. Who was going to be able to bear that brunt of being able to handle the ball and be able to run the offense? And Mikal Bridges showed me something. He showed me something. Now, granted, I think a lot of that has to do with the substitutions that Tibs made, who he had on the floor at that time. But Mikal Bridges really stepped up when we really needed him to handle the basketball. I did OG Anunoby, but more Mikal Bridges.
Non-Brunson minutes for sure.
And the non-Brunson minutes for sure, right? So that's what I really take away from this series. It's more of the offense and what we did to establish offense to getting shots up earlier, so Boston can be a little bit late in their rotations. That's what I'm much more impressed with than the defense. We got these wings for a reason in the offseason. You know what I mean? We got Mikal Bridges for a reason. I wasn't concerned about at the end of a game where we're going to be able to make stops. I never was concerned about that throughout the entire season, right? And people were, this defense is not where it needs to be. I was like, relax. In the game situations, I think defensively we'll be able to step up because of who we have.
And that's the thing. It's about moments.
Right. Offense is what I was really concerned about, and we were able to generate a lot in the non-Brunson minutes, and we knocked shots down. So,
and again, I'll stand on this. Again, this was our best game of the season for sure.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But I still don't think, I can't say that we've peaked yet. because or you know what I mean, because we haven't shown the consistency of this. So like that's the next step. How, because we've seen similar games like this from the Knicks so far, right? Maybe 4 or 5 times this year. You know what I mean? So the next thing is to bring this consistency consistently. You know what I mean? KB, he said that's the reason he wanted Mitch to start. Let's see how they would have let's see if they would have had the same hack strategy with starters getting the starters in foul trouble. I agreed. I had said that as well as a strategic move, not just like to start Mitch, but strategically. But again, you get them in early, and it's just as effective. So shout out to Tibs for doing it that way. I do believe though, in my heart of hearts, if Mitch was healthy to start the year, he would have started, and I wouldn't be surprised if next year there's some type of change. And he starts.
I think. Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
No, that was pretty much it. Go ahead, respond. I got 2 more comments.
Well, I can disagree. I never was a fan of Mitchell Robinson starting at the 5 and Cat playing at the 4. I know a lot of people are because they say Cat's not whatever. Cat's not defensively. He's not tough. All that stuff. But I think the reason why we have Cat at the 5, that's what makes this offense much better. We've been talking about this for years about having someone that can stretch the floor, and Cat does that, right? I think putting Mitch in there, putting Mitch next to him, I think kind of defeats that purpose in a way, right? And I'm not talking about the whole hack and Mitch thing. I'm not talking about that. That's strategic. I'm not talking about that. But I think having Mitchell Robinson come off the bench for Cat is what allowed this Tom Thibodeau to have as many weapons to pull from instead of putting him out there earlier in the game as far as a starter. Right, I think that is much more difficult for the Knicks to get into their offense by having Mitch start the game at the 5 as opposed to Cat playing the 5. If you notice, the Cat Mitch lineups that we've seen in the playoffs always come in the second half. We don't see that a lot in the first half. Cat and Mitch together. It's always a 1-for-1 or something like that. We for the most part, we've seen that in the second half of the playoff game.
Well, to me, again, this is why my thought about it is, well, let's see what happens next year.
Right.
Because I agree with you. It takes away from depth. But if we are improving the team somehow, and you know what I mean, like if Porty is stepping up and he becomes
that's a big one. That's a big one.
You know what I mean? Like so that could change things moving forward. We didn't have a full offseason healthy to kind of implement whatever Tibs wanted to do. You know what I mean? With Precious out, Shamit, Mitch, you know what I mean? Like so whatever his initial game plan thought was, he had to modify that from the jump anyway. So that's why my thought process of it again is let's see what happens next year, because I think Tibbs, his number one priority to me has always been
rim protection.
You know what I mean? So that's why that's my thought.
Well, hey, this is the first year we haven't seen it, and hey, look, you know.
That's true too. This is that's true too. Yeah, I'm sure he's learned some things about having this much of a dynamic offense.
And the Knicks are very much good defensively in the playoffs, as we've seen so far, with the lineup being the way it is. But I understand what you're talking about. I think there's no doubt in my mind if Mitch was healthy, yeah, Tibs would have with the double big. He would have did that.
Shout out to Jason Benjamin. Appreciate the super chat. I also feel like the hardest path to the Eastern Conference Finals, a tough Pistons teams, last year's champs. We were battle tested and think we're ready for the Pacers. Great transition. I agree. I think we're not only ready for the Pistons. I think there's certain teammates or team members that have been waiting for the, you know what I mean, like that are relishing the revenge factor of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know the consensus talk, you know, new team, passing the past, da. But we know the truth. You remember the team that knocked you out of your path last year or the previous year. You remember not being 100% healthy and able to give it your all to feel like, all right, if I lost, I lost giving it my all with all my effort. You know what I
And
mean?
them
Like,
hard
so,
hitting that 40-footer over Brunson that he should have never hit. That was once in a lifetime shot. That
oh,
series would have
well,
been done if he doesn't hit that shot. We win that
I
series.
I agree, but I'm gonna give Nimrod his that's his name. What's his name?
Nimrod.
I'm gonna give him his credit.
Nimrod.
I
That's
call
funny.
I call him Nimrod because he a villain. Oh, I'm gonna give him his props that he's elevated his game since that shot.
Oh yeah.
It feels like that propelled him
Oh yeah.
going into this year and in playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, so sometimes that's all you need to you know what I mean, to have your moment.
Yeah, lucky shot. Yeah, we had that game in the bag. In the bag, we had that game. I remember watching it myself, Jay Boogie, out here in North Carolina. We were watching it at one of the bars out here. And yeah, man, they took that game, but that would have definitely got us the series. I think if not for that shot. I think the Knicks are better than Indiana. You know, transition over. The Knicks are better than Indiana. I think we're gonna take them out. How many games? I don't know. I'm not taking any credit away from Indiana. I think Indiana is a really good team, but they don't defend, and I think we can be able to get our stuff off offensively against them. Question is, we can't be able to leave those wide open threes because that's a team that can get hot and can make some runs. But I believe overall the Knicks are a better team. I think that they're better managed, and I think we're going to be able to take them.
I agree that I feel like we're better. I felt like we were better last year. I think we've improved. For like, our team is better than last year's team, and I thought we were better last year. That is the same team pretty much from last year. I do think they have gotten better from last year, but that doesn't negate the fact that I still feel like we are a better team. You know what I mean? They gained some chemistry that we are still, in the midst of building. So that is a edge that I would give them. But like you saying, the threes are concerning for me, and then really our focus level. I really think it's about the Knicks. If the Knicks are focused and do not turn the ball over, and traditionally, like all year long, that has been one of our staples, right? So if we play our game, I think I'm not going to give a number on it just yet, but I think we could win this series, and it shouldn't be as difficult as the first two rounds. I'll say that.
I agree with you 100%. I agree. Detroit, again, I wasn't worried about Detroit. I wasn't sleeping on them, but I wasn't worried about them either. I think the Knicks, the experience will be able to win out. I think the Pacers, I mean, if you want to look at it this way, the Pacers are equally as experienced come playoff time, I think. Now, player for player.
Yeah. Team-wise, you saying?
Team-wise, you know what I'm saying? Collectively as a group, yeah. But player for player, I think we got players that have been to, Bridges finals, Towns, Western Conference Finals last year. Brunson is Brunson. We know that. You know what I mean? OG Anunoby, even though he was hurt with Toronto, being in that locker room, being around those guys. So
Brunson was in the Western Conference Finals, right?
The year that they knocked off Phoenix, yeah, I think he was on that team.
The year before we got him.
He was on that team. That's the team that knocked out Phoenix. They blew out Phoenix in the Game 7.
I was thinking about this earlier today for sure. Like, obviously you got Siakam with the championship experience, and you know what I mean, got the ring. OG was on that team, didn't play, but you know what I mean, he was a vital piece. Like, that was his kind of coming out party, if you will. But other than that, I don't know who has championship experience on that roster, and I think we have multiple, even back to PJ Tucker, whose voice,
that's an unsung hero right there.
You know what I mean? His voice is strong enough to help with his experience, not even on the court. So I agree. We have deeper playoff experience individually. You know what I mean? Collectively, I'll even say it's about even, but we have more depth in it. You know what I mean? We have more players that have gone further, have been through the struggles of losing it, and the expectations of being there, and all of that.
For those people who doubt when it comes to PJ Tucker, I know he's like a guy that's 12th man on the bench, whatever. But for those people who doubt the importance of having that type of guy in the locker room, listen to Carmelo's podcast. I think it was Carmelo's podcast when he had who was on there? Someone was on there. Someone from the Knicks tape era, the Knicks tape team.
J.R. Smith.
J.R. Smith. Yeah, exactly. He talked about the importance of having Rasheed freaking Wallace on that in the back there, talking about defense, communicating. That stuff is very important to a team, and that's why having someone like that, and why these the super teams of the past would go get those end of the bench guys who probably won't even play, but just having them around, those veteran presence that may have won championships before or been around deep in the playoffs before, having them at the end of the bench, right, to be able to talk, because I think it's an aura that they give off to winning teams, right? So I think that was the importance of the PJ Tucker move, and that's why it's going to continue to be important moving forward throughout the playoffs.
I agree. Josh, you remember some years ago, it's during this regime, but it was some years ago, and you questioned whether I was scared of the Knicks having expectation, like the Knicks expected to be good or expected to being favorites as opposed to underdogs. You remember that conversation we had? Well, I think you dropped out. Well, we had a conversation, and Josh said he thought I was afraid of expectations, and I think this team currently, their odds and the acknowledgement that they're getting across the board, there's expectation. The difference between the past team and the current team is I think this team is built for it. I was worried about the teams in the past losing focus, letting expectation get to their head, not being able to live up to the moment or deal with the moment. I think this team is totally different collectively, not just Brunson. Bridges as well, Cat as well. It's not about anything selfish with this team. When you see Mikal down or having a bad game or bouncing back from a bad game, he talks about his teammates lifting him up. Anytime Cat is at a podium or press conference and they're talking about him having any type of success or a good game, his teammates put him in that position. Same with Brunson. And collectively, I think this team is built different and ready to succeed for sure. Jason Benjamin, appreciate you again. He said the Pacers be the old wash Bucks team, an injured Cavs team. They're good, but I'm not buying the hype. Cat should dominate this series. I'm gonna leave this up because I definitely want to talk about that.
My bad, Tony. My internet went out, so I'm connected via my phone. So, let's rock it out, finish it out.
No doubt. I was just talking about a conversation we had a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. And you was questioning me favoring us being an underdog, and was I afraid of expectation for the current team? And basically, I was just telling the chat how at that time it wasn't the expectation of the team; it was the team constructed that we had and how they would deal with expectation. And it's a total different thing now with this team, because I feel like this team is kind of built. The expectation is not going to change their approach. You know what I mean? It's always going to be humbleness. It's always going to be the current game, the game in front of you. You know what I mean? Not looking ahead. It's always going to be, we can get better. You know what I mean? We're not done, not satisfied. So I think that's the difference between like now and at the time when I just liked us as an underdog. I thought that energy fed the team more to kind of overachieve and rather than, all right, the Knicks are supposed to win. They didn't know how to handle that. You know what I mean? That type of
Look at the Boston series. They were the underdog in the Boston series. No one had them winning, including myself, and they use that to fuel them. So I think that both things can be true at the same time. But back then, I think, and it wasn't just you. It's a lot of Knicks fans that basically it felt like, and that conversation came about because we're talking about bringing the pieces in, including Karl-Anthony Towns, who ironically we have now, right? People were afraid of going after those types of players because for some reason it looked like we were the super team. We were kind of building super team. And I didn't necessarily think that had to be the case. Just because you go sign a big name free agent or make a trade for a big name player does not mean you're trying to build a super team, right? But you have to be able to improve the roster. So what Leon Rose has done with this organization and bringing these players in, phenomenal, right? A lot of people said that it wasn't going to work. They were kind of concerned about it because of those expectations that come with it. And I think this team rose to the occasion, and Leon Rose did his thing. And guess what? I don't think the moves are done yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think whether we win a championship or not, I don't think the moves are done yet. The team and the financial structure of the cap and all that stuff is built for the Knicks to still make some more moves. Now, so we might have to say bye to some people, but that flexibility that we have, I mean, it's still there. So that's where that came from. But I do have expectations for this team every single year. They should be making the playoffs every single year, at the very least.
Oh, I think that conversation is not even like that goes without saying.
There you go.
That's an expectation. Yeah, absolutely, but absolutely, like playoffs. You know what I mean?
Right.
Allen Iverson,
right.
Like
not the first round.
At the very least. That I think that should be the lowest, the very least, out the first round. You know what I mean? Always context. You know what I mean? Who your opponent is and where they are, how they got to that position or whatever the case is. But I agree 100%. I had a couple of comments I wanted to answer. Who guards or who stops? It was Kofi. I know. There we go. How do we contain Miles Turner? And who will defend Siakam? I think OG defends Siakam off the jump. I think that goes without saying.
And Bridges on Halliburton. Although it depends on how much Halliburton's going off, because then I might have to swap. Halliburton is your primary ball handler, which the Knicks typically put OG on the primary ball handler, because. And I think the reason why Tibs decided to do that was because with Bridges being that secondary ball handler, it takes a lot of the pressure off of him. Instead of him having to guard the dominant guard of wing or whatever. But again, that's something that can be changed. He might come out starting with Bridges that way, and then wind up swapping it later on in the game, not just later in the series, in the game. That stuff happens too. So,
I like the Bridges Halliburton matchup for the simple fact, as sometimes most of the season I didn't like Bridges on the primary ball defender. I didn't like him on smaller guards, but the fact that Halliburton is a bigger guard, I think he could match up a little bit better than, you know what I mean, some of the guys he had trouble with that are smaller, a little faster, you know what I mean. So I like that matchup. As far as Miles Turner, I think Cat has to guard him to obviously to start off. I think at the very least, you know what I mean, on a bad performance level, they should match up evenly. I would give Cat, you know what I mean, if Cat is playing his best, I'm giving Cat the edge 100%. You know what I mean? But I think
that's no question. That's no question.
You know what I mean? But you gotta stay out of foul trouble. I think foul trouble again is gonna be key for the Knicks to be victorious. Guarding the three, staying out of foul trouble, not turning the ball over. Cat, as great as he hasn't really been great he's put up great numbers, but he hasn't been great in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like this year, like he's had good games, but if he stays out of foul trouble, that's a world of difference. If he's available to be on the floor, that's a world of difference. You know what I mean? Even when he's not shooting well, particularly, because when he's not shooting well, I think he's still getting 11, 12, 13 rebounds, 14 rebounds. So he knows how to be effective and affect the game without having a dominant shooting night. Would you get? You got some comments you want?
I'm smirking because I just find it so funny and interesting that the first question, or like when it comes to like us breaking down Indiana, the first question that a lot of the chat has, and this is Knicks fans in general, is who we guarding, who's checking who. Like we're thinking about defensively. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I just always approach it the other way. I look at how we're going to be able to get our stuff off offensively, and I think the defense, to me, the defense would be able to take care of itself. That's just how I see it. Ultimately,
even with you acknowledging that they're not a great defensive team.
Yes. And the reason, man, so talking about Cat specifically, when it comes to Miles Turner's not going to get Cat in foul trouble. Cat's foul trouble comes on switches, right?
Guards, yeah.
Yeah, well, on guards, right? So I'm not worried about Miles Turner in that regard. And we got the secret weapon off the bench. That's Mitchell Robinson, who can be able to defend Miles Turner. Yeah, actually has done a really good job against Miles Turner in the past.
And I like the fact I think this is a great series for Precious.
Yeah.
I think this is a great series for Precious to come get some spot minutes, guard Siakam, guard Turner. You know what I mean? Good for switches. And
eat some fouls if he needs to. He's like the ninth off the bench. Yeah.
So I think this is a big series that Precious could kind of make his mark in. Has the familiarity from the series last year, and also from playing against guarding Siakam as a teammate. So I think this is a huge series where I think Precious could be an X factor. That's up to Tibs. Obviously, I'm not going to be bashing him if he doesn't play, but I think he could be super effective in this series.
Yeah, I agree 100% on Precious.
So I think we had. So you're less concerned with the defense. You're more concerned with the offense. I'm
because we can get too Brunson heavy sometimes. Too much Brunson ball handling dominating the show. And
I agree.
That's always been my concern with the Knicks. Like overall, that's been my
concern. I agree with that sense that we haven't figured that out as far as like overall. Like last game was great, and I think Brunson's been kind of picking his spots and figuring it out throughout the year, throughout the playoffs. But it hasn't been a solid spread the wealth offense. So I agree with that, but I think we're learning that. We're figuring that out.
On the fly. That's what happens.
It's just a matter of time. You know what I mean? I'm hoping last game kind of opens up, like ring a light bell for people like Cat, you know what I mean, who could be aggressive, bro. Stay on the floor. Don't get in foul trouble. I wasn't worried about Miles. I'm just saying foul trouble in general because we need you on the floor. We need you available to be on the floor,
right? You know to be able to do what you do offensively. I'm thinking more Bridges. I'm still sticking with that. I think Bridges is the key, and like I said, he showed me something. He showed me a lot. His ability to run the offense in the non-Brunson minutes, or even when Brunson's on the floor, I think Bridges has to be able to continue to grow and develop in that role. And I think again, Pacers are not Boston, right? I don't think the Pacers are as defensively sound as what Boston can bring to the table, right? But I am concerned about, I guess concerned sounds like too strong of a word, but I'm just going to use it. I am concerned about us being able to generate offense, right? And be able to equal what they're going to do as far as them running, right? Because they run a lot. They score a lot of points based on them running, getting those turnovers. So can we be able to get better offense in the half court, getting them shots earlier in the shot clock? Not 7 seconds or less, but off screens, being able to get that shot, taking that opportunity when it's there.
No more grenades.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, we are a grenade team for sure. Yeah. And but again, it's we're learning on the fly. It's a work in progress. I like this. I like the steps that we've taken. You know what I mean? I agree with you with Bridges, but I feel like I've said this all year. I feel like for him, that comes next year. You know what I mean? Like now, we're not going to see that. I don't think we're going to see that consistently. And we're at the tail end of the season now. What he's been doing in his moments, whether it's a fourth quarter, you know what I mean? Whether it's the 2 defensive stops, You know what I mean? Whether it's turning it on in the third quarter, whatever, finding these little niches within the game. I think he's figuring that part out. And the great thing about it is he's doing it while having a bad game. You know what I mean? He's 2 for 7 or 2 for 9, and then has a 6 for 8 quarter. You know what I mean?
On
like,
mid ranges, rebounds, hustle plays, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, he's 0 for 4 from 3, but he's 8 for 12 for, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, all right, if you just hit that 3, you know what I mean? Like, he's figuring it out, and he's being, again, those 2 defensive stops at the end of the game. He's done that throughout the year. So to have that in the playoffs against the defending champs at that time, I'm gonna say seemingly healthy. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't know what was going on with KP, but yeah, it's clutch moments. So I'm not worried about him. I think that comes like the real synergy, or the real, like, him at his peak. I think that comes next year. I think it's about Cat and Brunson this year. You know what I mean? How far can they carry us, and the rest of that will grow. You know what I mean? That's just my take. But I agree though. Like, his ceiling, that's, you know what I mean? Like, what? I don't think he gets. I don't think he gets there.
Yeah, I don't think that, you know, again, this is me making a prediction. I'm not even looking for him to do that, like, on that type of level. I'm not even looking for him to do it like that. I don't think that's really his game. I think with his game, the ceiling of his game, as far as how he scores and how he's able to work in offense, is what we're seeing now, right? And I'm not talking about the open, the bad half and then turn on the second half. I don't mean it like that. I mean his ability on the floor, like his ability to score on the mid-range.
He's showing it already.
Yeah, he's showing. We've seen that. You know what I mean? And I think that's okay. That's fine. I just need that to be the case consistently.
That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about. For him to get that. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying stepping it up to some next level. I'm saying when he becomes that on a consistent game in, game out. You know, this is my job.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like, he was that in Phoenix, but at a smaller role. You know what I mean? So he has, now the role is higher. He's just got to get to that's consistent level of it. You know what I mean? But in the meantime, I'm loving what I'm seeing, because he's having these moments of it that's helping us win. You know what I mean?
And those moments are the standard. That's the consistent part of it, but it's not consistent throughout the game.
Because honestly, you could argue the same thing for OG. You know what I mean? It's really about his moments. You know what I mean? But when he gets to those consistency of even at 20 points, when you know it's 20 every night, that's what I'm saying. When you know from Bridges, it's 20 every night, and then you get in what they give defensive, that's going to be a game changer. You know what I mean? And they're not far from it. 14, 17. You know what I mean? Like, they're not far. I'm just saying, when they get to that 20, you know that's what you get. We going to be so dangerous.
Shout out to the people who didn't want to trade RJ Barrett for OG Anunoby. Shout out to those people.
Josh and his feelings. He's like, I've been getting called out all week. I'm calling.
Shout out to those people. The RJ Barrett stands. Yeah, shout out to them.
Those was your arch enemies too. In that time, in that moment, I used to go at them. I mean, hey, we fall in love with, you know what I mean, some players sometimes. You know what I mean? It's hard to let go. I mean,
yes.
Shoot. I don't want to look past the Pacers. So I'm not going to talk about the West Coast in the context of playing us, but I want to get your thoughts on this matchup, Minnesota OKC. Where do you think it goes? Who do you think takes it and reaches the finals?
Minnesota's played them really well during the regular season. Right, that's one of the few teams that's given OKC some problems, and I think it's because of length. I, since the beginning of the season, had OKC coming out the West because I think I said that even when they lost last season, the only thing they needed was a big, and they got Hartenstein. That's all they needed. Healthy Cat and a big, and they got it, right? So that's number one. And the second part, that's icing on the cake for them out the West to me, is Alex Caruso. That right there, on top of what they already have, extremely, extremely dangerous. So I'm taking OKC. Not taking anything away from Minnesota either, because Minnesota can give problems defensively too with the length, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just got OKC. I just think they got too much firepower for Minnesota, and I would rather play if I'm a Knicks fan. Not putting the cart in front of the horse. If I'm a Knicks fan, I would rather play Minnesota than I would play OKC. Just my opinion.
And that's because of the path you're saying, the matchup.
The matchup specifically.
Okay.
So I like the Minnesota matchup for the Knicks' favor rather than OKC in my opinion.
I'm gonna be honest. Like, I think Minnesota's gonna win
the series.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be a tough series, but I think Minnesota's gonna win. I would prefer OKC, and it's not because of the matchup. It's because I want the tougher matchup.
Okay.
But storyline with Minnesota, you can't write a better script than Minnesota winning. You cannot write, and then you know how you know how you talk about, all right, you gotta wait and see who won this trade. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you gotta wait.
We ain't gotta wait. We ain't gotta wait this time.
Now it becomes a determining factor. As much as that scares me in a sense, you know what I mean? Like, because I don't think it should be regardless of who would potentially win, I don't think it should be a determining factor. Shortly after the trade, I thought it was a rare win-win. You know what I mean? And I think that should be the consensus. But even on an individual level, there's bragging rights. There's, you know what I mean? There's, you let me go for whoever wins. So the storyline for Minnesota, man, I feel like that's destined. I feel like it feels like, and again, I'm not on that NBA's scripted, written, you know what I mean, train. But if it is, there's no better there's no better promotion for this matchup if it happens that way.
Yeah, someone put out earlier today. I think that either Hartenstein, Obi, whoever we got.
Yeah, somebody from the Knicks team last year is going there.
Yeah, somebody from the Knicks team was going to
win it. Yeah.
And to me, that's crazy.
And that is a testament to our front office.
Absolutely.
Even the, you know what I mean? Like I've been saying this too. Even the guys we let go, they're flourishing where they are. You know what I mean? They're peaked. They were nurtured here. Yep. They were developed here. They learned the grit of the city, of the pressure of the fan base, and then we let them fly. We let them go fly. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that is a testament to this front office
and the organization as a whole. And Tom Thibodeau. Let's not forget about him.
I mean, the whole thing. From Leon
doesn't nurture young players, all that. Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I can't, man. We gotta win this thing though, because I can't wait for the 30 for 30 for the whole organization, like the front office, and how they
we finally get to hear him talk.
how we went from this, you know what I mean, to where we are now.
To that right there.
Oh man, this is a great time to kind of to be a Knicks fan, man. Yeah, I swear. And I know you got to run, man. I appreciate your time. You know what I mean? Like we've been talking behind the scenes. I think you cut out. Oh, there you back. All right, good. Okay. Appreciate your time, Josh, man. We've been trying to put this together for some months. I'm glad to get you back on though for sure, man. And I know you got some things coming in the woodwork. So whenever you ready, man, whenever you need me, you know what I mean. Let me know whenever you want to jump back on the show as well.
Two more things, Tony. Two more things before I go.
Yeah,
First
absolutely.
thing, the reason why this this coming on today was so important to me is because after that the last game we closed out Boston. Not only did Sim call me out, I have guys on other platforms calling me out. Knicks Fan TV, Blue Orange Tears, everybody calling me out. You know what I mean? All because I made a prediction and I didn't get my prediction right. So if everybody wants to be mad at me, be mad at Uncle Fio, please be my guest, tack it on my jacket. Like I said, y'all should be thanking me, right? If anything, if I'm that so much of a bad guy, whatever, it is what it is. And the last thing I'll say just came out today. The NBA Trainers Association voted the Knicks #1 training staff in the NBA today. That just came out, right? Because the Knicks were the most healthy team in the NBA, believe it or not. If you look at it, there's a metric that they actually judge. The Knicks were the most healthy team in the healthiest team in the NBA. So all those people that were complaining about Tom Thibodeau, he's going to get his players hurt, and the minutes, and all of that, take that for data, okay? Take that for data because the Knicks are healthy, right? And the whole thing about him overplaying his guys, that's not what causes injuries. So many other factors goes into it. Boston was more hurt than us, and he ran with 10 all year, right? So it wasn't that. And I think Tom Thibodeau deserves a lot more credit that he's been getting over the years. And hopefully Knicks fans are going to ride him now and be behind him now as much as they want me to predict Knicks are going to win. So I just want to put that out there. Don't be hypocrites, people. Admit when you're wrong. There you go.
And stand on it, man. That's why, you know what I mean. I'm always going to share the platform. And again, throughout the years, we don't agree on a lot of takes. Sometimes we don't even realize when we do agree on takes. But you know what I mean? Throughout the years, you know what I mean? We've always had difference of opinions, but that's the great part of having a conversation. Is talking about
5 different Knicks fans, 7 different opinions. Every time. Happens every time, Tony.
And man, you're always welcome on here, man. You know what I mean? And appreciate your time, man. So I'm gonna let you get out. I'm gonna chop it up with the chat for a couple minutes, and but you know what I mean. I know you gotta get out of here. So
yeah, I gotta go. Peace to the Knicks and Bruises family. Later, Tone. It's all love. I'll see y'all soon.
Appreciate you, Uncle Fio in the building. I think that's how he does it. Oh man, that was dope. Chat, man. How y'all feeling? Pacers, Eastern Conference Finals, rematch, revenge. I mean, there's a lot of storylines for this series as well. I can't wait to get started. Somebody in the chat, my bad, because I lost it, but they said the game should have started today or tomorrow. I agree. Like I can't even wait. Jason Benjamin, I think I missed this, so I appreciate the super chat. He said, put some respect on Mikal Bridges' name. Bing bong. Yeah, man. Mikal gonna be a beast next year. I feel like when he's comfortable, fully settled in, and don't let it be after a chip. I'm gonna close out with something I said before. Oh, pardon me. Let me KB. It's locked and loaded, you know what I mean? But Sim traveling right now. So as soon as hopefully we get it tonight. I thought I had to work at 5 a.m. I don't. So if maybe late night tonight, we'll get it done for you guys for sure. But yeah, I'm gonna close out with this. I said this before the season started, after all the acquisitions was made, that this might be our year. And throughout the season, throughout the year, it's been all these little things that it just feels like the stars are lining up for us. Random stuff, you know what I mean? Like I see the cover, you know, with the Pope and the Villanova connection and all that, you know what I mean? But here's a fun fact. I mentioned this earlier, and I just remembered it again, man. The last time Minnesota traded their all-star bigs, they won that chip. They traded Kevin Garnett, championship. They traded Kevin Love, championship. They traded Cat. I feel like this is our time, baby. I really do. But we gotta take care of business against the Pacers. Let's knock them out and see where this thing goes. Continue to enjoy the ride. Until next time, your blackest time. I'm out of here. Shout out to the chat, the replay gang, silent viewers. I see y'all on Queen's Court. We out.